Hello there, Chelsea. Thanks for joining us. Just fixing some stuff here. I'll be ready momentarily. Or I'm ready now. Hey, JP Best PG. Some adjustments. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. Okay, so got a live going on today. It's going to be kind of like the same as last week, just going to do a little Q&A here. And, you can ask anything you want, really. It can be dog training questions, maybe it's business questions, what have you. Really anything that you want, prong collar questions, e-collar, just general training questions, I'll do my best to answer those up for you. So, yeah. We'll probably start off, so we did have this question come into us on our IG page, just like asking about the e-collar and how our process went. So we'll probably just start there, and then if anyone has anything that they want to add, or anything like that, or any questions about anything that I'm covering, definitely don't hesitate to put your question in there, because I'm sure someone else has probably got that same question. So yeah, definitely don't hesitate with that. If you don't mind, I'm just going to be drinking some of my coffee. Hello there, Canine Innovations. All right, so part of this question on the e-collar was, they asked, is this a shock collar, right? Electronic shock collar. So definitely, so while, yes, we could call it that, okay? However, that's not the case, okay? So technology has definitely changed, and when e-collars were first introduced, they are like wildly different from some of the very early models, and even some of the ones that you can find today. So for us particularly, we use a brand called ecollar Technologies, okay? And Rib Chin, how's it going? Nice to see you again. So we use e-collar Technologies, okay? And the reason for this is because they're a very quality e-collar, okay? And the stimulation that they provide is exactly what you would find in a TENS unit that you would find at the chiropractor's office. Also maybe you've seen online those ads that are you put these little pads on your abs, to get the six-pack abs, and it's like sending all these little stimulations into your stomach. Same technology there, okay? So old technology, the e-collars would affect the nerves, okay? And then these ones here are a muscle stimulator, all right? So I think that's a very clear distinction between them. And so for us, right, they're just called an e-collar, right? Because they're not shocking dogs. It's kind of like with the prong collar, it's sometimes called as a pinch collar, but it's not actually pinching dogs, it's applying pressure, okay? And that's exactly what the e-collar does, is it just applies pressure. That's it, okay? Now, the other thing is what the style of e-collar, is referred to as low-level e-collar training, which is basically you want to find your dog's baseline level, okay? So these collars have 100 levels, and the reason for that is because there's a ton of variability between all of these levels. I got introduced to e-collars many years ago, and I actually, at one point, got introduced to them, and then I was like, I don't like it, and I'm not going to use it anymore, because I thought it felt harsh, and also wasn't seeing any changes. with the use of it, okay? And this particular collar, it only had like 7 levels on it, and then I think it had like a dash in between each one, so it was like 7 levels, but then it was like 1, 2, 3 in between each one. And you know, the difference between 1 and 2, or like, you know, 1 and then like medium 1, medium, you know, low 1, medium 1, high 1, whatever, was very drastic. And I mean, I have a video of this on our YouTube page, and I don't get past level like 2 or something on this particular remote, okay? While I can put this ecollar Technologies one, you know, I'll put it on my neck, put it on the 100, and it just makes my neck do this. Okay, doesn't hurt. I wouldn't want it to be done all the time, right? It's definitely uncomfortable, but it's not painful in any way. But like, that's an extreme thing, okay? Because like, you're never really using those kinds of levels with your dog. Yeah, sure, there might be moments, you know, if your dog is like running towards the street and you need to stop them, but in order for you to even be at that point, like, you should have done so much other training previously where that might not even be an issue, okay? Most of the time, it's like, we say those things because you should be prepared for those things, but you know, when you're doing your training and, you know, following these steps and these protocols, your dog running after a squirrel into the street, I feel, is very unlikely, okay? Because like, all of your training has been teaching your dog that it benefits them to stay close to you. The dog who's running across the street or running towards the squirrel lacks impulse control, doesn't have good relationship with you, and you know, like, there's not a good relationship between, that's why they're bolting away from you, and they don't have good training. I mean, like, that is a big part of it, okay? Like, it just is, all right? So that's why we like work on impulse control and, you know, all of these other activities, because it starts to teach your dog that they don't have to do that. So then when they go, huh? You're like, oh, here, okay? And you don't even have to get into those levels. Like, I can count one time, okay, with my dog Lucy in particular. I've had her for 8 years now, maybe 9 years. No, 8 years. One time I had to dial up high on the remote and, you know, correct pretty firmly, because she chased after, you know, she was chasing after some wildlife, and she like was picking up a ground squirrel, and I'm like, no, you can't go after those things, okay? One time, and that's it, you know, and this was years ago now. So it's like, it doesn't happen very often, okay? And now, so going back with this question, you know, they were asking about positive reinforcement, and, you know, is it gone, you know, we don't do it at all, you know, and it's just e-collar, and you know, or if it's used in conjunction, okay? So the process that we take for e-collar training, okay? So with e-collar training, so I got like a camera here and I got a camera here. Maybe I need to just flip this so it's a little bit more straight on as well. Okay, so the thing with e-collar training is it's all a process, okay? Oh, we got another one here. Bob, how are you? So first off, everything starts off like on a slip lead. You know, this is just our process, okay? So dog comes in for a training program, and maybe they're coming in on their harness, flat collar, prong collar, slip lead, what have you, okay? So first off, we put the dog on a slip lead, and everything starts on that slip lead, all right? So what that means is we're building the dog up, right? So we're getting them working for their food, okay? And, you know, initially it's like, hey, you feel tension on the leash when you're ahead of it, you turn into it, you don't feel any more tension, yes, and then you get some food, okay? So we're building up our markers and teaching them obedience commands and stuff like that, right? So at first it's all done through shaping, okay? Like luring, you know, we lure the dog into a sit and yes them out, you know, so we're building up these behaviors, okay? And then the next phase would be to add in the prong collar, all right? So the reason why we add in the prong collar is because we need our dog to understand directional guidance with the leash, okay? So what that means is if if I put an e-collar on a dog who's only been shown how to sit with a hand lure or something like that, what can happen when they feel the e-collar sensation on their neck is that all of their brain goes, whoop, I feel this, okay? Now all of a sudden I don't know how to sit with this feeling on my neck, all right? And this is where the prong collar comes in, or it could also be a slip lead as well. But we apply tension straight up, okay? The dog knows, oh, when I feel tension go straight up, my butt goes to the ground, okay? And when they do that, they get the yes, and they get some food, or good, and then I pay them some food, okay? So now, when I bring in the e-collar to this, the button turns on, so we use a continuous function for that. The button turns on, they're like, okay, what do I do with that? I've never felt that before. And then we use the leash that goes straight up, and they go, oh, I know what to do because I feel that. Their butt hits the ground, the e-collar goes away, the prong collar goes away, and then they get some food. Okay, so that's the process, right? We're using both positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement in this process in conjunction with each other. Okay, because the dog wants to ultimately not feel the collar. Okay, because it is pressure. Okay, and pressure is inherently uncomfortable to a dog. All right, so it's like, I don't know if it's worth getting into the different forms of pressure, right? Because yeah, each one is going to elicit a different thing, but at the end of the day, pressure is pressure, right? And every one of these is going to say something to your dog. If I step into the dog, that's applying spatial pressure, which is a correction of sorts, okay? When I apply tension on the leash, that is pressure, and when they turn into it, that goes away, okay? If I put spoons on a counter and they jump up to grab something off the counter and those spoons fall over, that's audible pressure, okay? So that's all the e-collar is. It's just pressure that the dog is feeling, and this is how they turn it off. So then they learn that they're in control over the e-collar, okay? And it's pretty much just a process after that. So it's like, the training is extended, because it's like you start from shaping, and then, okay, now we're adding in the leash, so now we go back to doing all of that same stuff again, and then we add in the e-collar, and then we go back and do all that stuff again, and then you're proofing, you're going out, putting reps in, and putting reps in, okay? So it takes time, okay? It's a misnomer that it speeds up your training. Yes, I think it can be done, things can be done faster, but it still requires a lot of effort in training, okay? Like, you got to get your dog out, you got to practice these things, because just because you can get a great recall inside your house or in your backyard doesn't mean you're going to get a great recall at the park or the beach or something like that. So you have to practice in all of these different environments, and so it's like, it's not really that speedy. Like, it is, but it isn't, so that's how those two things are used in conjunction with each other. Now this person had a particular question that they were looking at separation anxiety stuff. So I wouldn't use the e-collar for separation anxiety, because that is a whole different it's a whole different thing. Okay, we definitely want to be working on separation between us and the dog. Fulfillment exercises, obviously, right? We want them to be nice and tired before going into the crate. But like place work, so like you wouldn't really be using the e-collar for separation anxiety stuff. That's definitely a different thing to work on, and so with separation anxiety, since we're on the topic, it's like some of the key things that we want to be looking at. Hello, Elena. I hope I pronounced your name right, Elena. So with separation anxiety, like I said, you want to create separation between you and your dog. It's like, yeah, you're going to want to hold back on the affection, which is tough. I know, I get it, not like, and this is the hard part, because they're, you are essentially the drug for your dog, okay? So you pet them, they get that dopamine hit. we gotta cut back on that stuff, you know, closeness to us and stuff like that. So it's like, this is where we want to try place command in areas that are away from us. So if we're in the living room, I don't want to have the place bed right next to the couch. I might have it across the room, okay? I'll put the crate in a different room, not in the same room as I am, you know. These are difficult things. Like, the crate's going to be hard for your dog, so you probably want to get a different crate, you know, a different heavy duty one, impact kennel, roughland kennel, a gunner kennel. I think there's some other ones out there, like a Zinger or something like that. Zinger Winger, I think maybe it's what it's called. But you're going to want to get that because your dog might have issues with that, you know, and they might try to break out of a different crate, you know. So you want to have something that doesn't allow them to manipulate the crate, you know, because if our dog starts to bite the bars, starts to, you know, bend the bars in some way, manipulate it in some way, it's going to trigger in their brain that they can like keep going and keep working at it because the thing gave, okay? So a heavier duty crate, you know, you obviously want to be training and things like that. But you definitely want to, I mean, the big one is going to be holding off on the affection, you know, not that you can't, but you really got to pick and choose the things that are going to be beneficial for your dog. And sometimes that can be really hard to notice, you know, but like unearned affection, you know, so it's like dog just coming over and putting their head on your lap, you know, it's like, got to cut that down, you know. It would be like, affection is going to be given more on my terms, you know, so I'm going to be like, hey, go lay down on your bed, good. Hey, here, good. Give you some pets, and now I'm going to send you back to your bed, okay? Separation anxiety is a tough one, all right, but like I said, you want to create separation, you know, get a nice heavy duty crate so you can block any of that stuff from occurring, you know, like trying to bite the bars and stuff so they don't hurt themselves. Training, limiting the affection, and lots of place work, definitely lots and lots of place work. You know, like I said, I think doing things that tire them out, you know, maybe it's like, okay, you get into some bike riding, or you get yourself a treadmill, and, you know, these are all things that are just done in conjunction with everything else, right? So I'm not saying put your dog on a treadmill for hours and hours to physically exhaust them, but it's like, you know, we want to, like, you know, make sure they're physically tired, you know, and then like do stuff with that mentally challenges them as well, you know, so they're physically and mentally exhausted, and then when they go into the crate, they're like, yes, I'm ready to just pass out in here, you know. So that would be like separation anxiety stuff. And then, you know, but then the e-collar can help, right? It's like the e-collar can help open up your world, so now I can take you to the park and allow you to run around and, you know, sniff things, right? Like do dog stuff, which is fulfilling in itself, you know? And so it's like, yes, it can aid, but not like, oh, I'm going to put an e-collar on you and correct you for separation anxiety. Doesn't work like that, at least not what I have seen, and, you know, in my experience. Like, I've not really seen that before, okay? So yeah, does anyone have any like questions about anything? It's a pretty nice day here today. Nothing crazy going on. See a nice little shiner. Had jiu-jitsu this morning. Try to get in for like an hour on Sundays. Means I'm here early working the dogs, getting them ready to nap, and then it's time for me to go train. And as always, you know, I'll save this, and you know, you all can refer to it later, and I'll put down in there, you know, in the what's it called, description, you know, just what was covered. Oh, excuse me. Oh, dang. Can everyone hear me okay? I got this headphone in. I'm not sure if that's messing with it or not. I would like to be here for an hour, but you know, if we don't get any questions or anything like that, we'll probably end it a little bit sooner. You know, going back to the crate stuff, you know, things that could probably help too is like, you know, when you put your dog into a crate, I mean, sometimes it doesn't because they're so anxious, you know, they might not even mess with it, you know, but like you could try to, you know, a Kong in there, but I would use maybe something different, right? So like, you know, if your dog always gets like peanut butter or something like that, and you put that in the Kong, they might not want it because they get it, you know? So what you could try, okay, is like, you know, sweeten it up, you know. Hey, Aunt Robin. You could try a Kong, okay, but like what I've done is I put some like raw food in it, or like with a bully stick or something. Maybe the raw food would be nice just because then you don't have to worry about a choking hazard. But you know, something that's gonna really trigger their nose, you know, and really get them wanting to get in on that thing, you know, because, you know, again, if a dog is like, I get this stuff often, it doesn't really matter to me that much, you know, they could just not want it at all. So, you know, something like that could help with just kind of like giving them something to do while in there. Right. Also, mind you that, you know, you don't have any problems taking stuff away from them. I mean, even if you did, you could get this like little grabber tool. You know, think about like you got to reach something on the top shelf kind of thing. We use those often, especially for dogs who might be a little dodgy in the crate. The little grabber tool can be nice, so I can like give you the thing, and then, you know, oh, okay, I need to grab it. I don't need to reach all the way into the crate. I can just grab it. So something like that could definitely help. And yeah, you just like freeze some raw food in there, or you could get creative with like getting a freeze-dried food and, you know, like put some water or something in there, you know, or like goat milk or something, and like freeze it, you know, and then let them just like have at it. You know, they'll probably tire themselves out with that. But again, that wouldn't just be the only thing. You know, I'd want to make sure I walk the dog beforehand, you know, or work them, train them, you know, do that stuff so that they're like tired, and then like, here you go, crate, good, and get in there, and then they get that good thing. They could eat their meals in there, so you're just like, oh, the crate is a great spot, you know, or if you're training for their meals outside, when you go back into your crate, good, here's a treat, you know, or crate, good, and now here's your Kong, and you can just really start to create the crate as being like, wow, yeah, that's a place I really want to go to because good stuff shows up there, you know, for me, right? So yeah, any questions? Hi there, Wendy. Have any of you all ever heard of the company Fellow? They make this really awesome mug, and it like keeps your coffee warm for a very long time. I made this morning at like 6:30 or so. It's one 20 obviously, and it's still nice and hot. I got really into pour over coffee a couple years ago, and got this like fellow thingy here, and then I got this like little fellow kettle thing for the pour over. It's got that little skinny spout on there, but it's a really cool kettle. It's got like a little Bluetooth, so I can start it from my phone, can set the temperature, and then I got their like grinder. Yeah, I definitely got really into coffee a couple years ago, and so I'm like grinding my beans in the morning with this coffee grinder, and yeah, it's my girlfriend makes fun of me about it, not like in a terrible way. She's just like, oh, you like to take the long way. I was like, I feel like now I'm a process-oriented individual. I like the process of things. I mean, dog training is a process-oriented activity. Jiu-jitsu, process-oriented activity. My Muay Thai, again, process-oriented activity. Just gotta show up, put some time in, whether it's good or bad. Some days are gonna be better, some days are not gonna be so good, but you just show up, and give it your best, right? It's not just showing up and like, doing it haphazardly or something, but yeah, give it your best, just like with the dogs. So we had a few more people join, so I'm gonna, keep this open a little bit longer, see if anyone's got any questions about anything. Go ahead and ask whatever you want. Like I said, everyone benefits totally. I know when I was going, I still have questions about things, and when I was in the real deep end of it, I definitely knew a lot of people had the same kind of questions I had, so it's beneficial. All right, probably like I said, we'll probably keep it open just for a few more minutes. If we don't get any questions, then we'll probably just call it for today. Again, just a little recap. We were talking about some separation anxiety at the beginning. E-collar stuff, kind of what our process is like. Hello, Jen. Hey. Thanks for joining us today. Just out here answering any questions that you might have. Dog training questions, you got something you want to troubleshoot. Your puppy is barking when you walk away. So, in what context? Are they barking in the crate? Are they just barking somewhere? So, like barking in general is, it takes energy to bark. So I would say, I guess one of my first things that I would take a look at is like, am I expending their energy efficiently enough? Okay, so I would want to, walk. So went hiking and I went to the restaurant. I feel like that is something that happens often, okay? And I think this might just be a symptom of like, you know, you have your dog, right? Your dog loves you, you know? So, but we also, you know, like want to take a look at other areas, right? So like this here feels like a little bit of like separation anxiety. And, you know, something I've thought about in the past is like, I feel like our dogs are always going to have like some certain level of separation anxiety just because we spend so much time with them, right? It's like they're our dogs, you know, they love us, okay? So I think that stuff is going to be there, right? But this is why we want to teach them how to go into a crate, you know, and like what that process looks like. So then it's like, oh, okay, dad said go to the crate. I know this is safe. I'm good here, okay? Maybe because without it, it's like, again, the separation anxiety could occur, okay? So like aside from the barking, you know, you went hiking. In my home, when I go upstairs, he is downstairs with kids, gated, first floor. Does he still bark in that context too? But I'd want to be teaching my dog how to be away from us. So this is where place command comes in also, okay? So like when you're at home, you know, you want to practice this stuff inside your house, okay? Because it builds things up for when you get outside, which we can refer to as the big game, okay? So inside your house is the practice. And if you're not getting the practice inside your house, you're not gonna be set up for the competition, okay? And that's just whatever you're doing outside of your home, okay? Anything outside your home can be thought of as like the big game, okay? And so we have to ask ourselves, did we train enough to set ourselves up to be successful in this moment, okay? So first thing, I would want to be taking a look at place work, okay? And it's like, all right, you know, when we're not doing anything, I want you to just go to your dog bed and chill out. We're gonna play, but then when we're done playing, I'm gonna have you go to your bed. So then you can move around the house, right? And your dog knows that like, oh, mom said go lay down. I don't need to worry about what she's doing, okay? Because again, barking is a symptom of some underlying issue. I mean, he could be barking for your attention, you know, like demanding in that kind of regard. And so I'd want to work on teaching them how to be separate from me, okay? And then it's like, that would be like the first step, right? Not that that's going to solve everything when you get to, you know, the hiking trail. I mean, this could be you and your partner walking to the grocery store and, you know, you're outside and, you know, or your partner's outside and you go in and, you know, they're like barking, okay? So then the other thing would be like, I got to paint the picture for the dog, right? And so something that we tell our clients often is like, motion is your friend, okay? So the next time this happens, and you know, so if it's like your friend, you know, I mean like, and this is where context can matter, you know, right? It's like, does your friend have a dog with them too? If it's not, if it's just one dog, right? And we can recreate the situation, you know, or maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's your partner and you can recreate this situation. I wonder if you get the same thing though, if it's like your partner, because the dog lives with them, you know, so maybe it's like your friend is like savvy with the dog, you know, or savvy with dogs. Maybe they don't even have to be that savvy. But what I mean by motion is your friend is you'd want to get them moving, okay? So, you know, I used to do this, right? We would go to like Safeway. They would go into the store. And then I'm going to move around with my dog. I'm going to get them engaging with me, okay? Because they're like, okay, that's fine. So let's say, okay, your friend, right? So what I would say is, let's try to role play this in some way, okay? Or maybe even the kids can help out, okay? But it's like, hey, I'm going to hand you the dog, all right? And then I'm going to go inside, okay? But then we need to work the dog so they're not focused on you leaving the area, okay? And this would be where, like, I want to know, can the dog take food, you know, in that regard? Because these are all things that are going to help, right? Or maybe I just walk around with them, but keeping their focus ahead and not what's going on back there, okay? Because, like, dogs can only concentrate on one thing at a time. And if we're just, like, in a sit and then they see you walking away, it's like they're just cooking, right? They're simmering in this pressure cooker, and it's just like, there's mom, she's leaving, and you know, the pressure is building, right? The stress is building. So when you leave, I want to be like, let's go, good boy, and now we're like moving, you know, sit, yes, and you know, doing things to help engage them with the handler and not worry so much about where you are going. And then it's just going to be like a rinse and repeat kind of a thing, you know. But this is why role playing is so nice, is because you can like start to paint the picture for your dog in a context outside of when it kind of matters, right? Because it might be hard to train in that moment in time, you know, because maybe you want to get on the trail, you know, do all of these things. But you need to like set your dog up for success. So practicing it outside of that context, or, you know, and outside of other contexts of like going to the store or something like that, I practice it at home as best as you can. And the first thing would be like place command. You know, if your dog is barking at you when you're in your home and you know you like just leave the room, then it's like, all right, I need to give you something to do when there is nothing to do. Okay, and that's where place work is, because again, dogs can only focus on one thing at a time. And when I say go to your place, good boy, down, good, I've given them direction, and they're like, oh, okay, mom said chill on place. I need to focus on place. And so now possibly they're not focused or worried about what you may or may not be doing, because you've given them this directive, right? And that's a big distinction, I think, too. You know, it's different when the dog chooses to go do something, and it's different when I've like verbalized it. And it's like when I verbalize it, I just create this like placeholder in their brain, okay? Because then it's like, oh, I got to focus on that, right? Rather than if they do it on their own, they're really not focusing on anything. They're kind of like doing stuff, okay? So that would probably be like the first place that I would start, is like place work, you know, and just get it to where you can be moving around your house, whether it's inside of the dog, you know, the dog, you are inside with the dog, or you are out of sight with them, okay? So he's got puppy energy, and he wants to approach and greet most dogs and people on trails and walks. Just redirect every time with treats. So, I mean, yeah, you definitely want to ignore these things, because like, you know, so just as like a caveat, right? If like your dog, you know, it doesn't sound like you're doing this, right? It sounds like you're redirecting him, which is great. But just for everyone else out there, like if you're allowing your dog to go say hi to strangers, keep in mind that this can backfire on you, and you can get a dog that wants to say hi to every single stranger and every single dog. And you know, when that moment in time arises when they can't go say hi, because it inevitably always shows up, that's where frustration can occur. You know, that's where leash reactivity can start to occur, because then it's like your dog, if they're not able to do what they want to do, whatever the way your dog is going to do it, they're going to be like, okay, so my normal approach of pulling towards the dog or the human isn't working. So what could work? Maybe I start barking at the dog. You know, barking, yeah, you know, and then we read that as like, oh, maybe they just really want to go say hi. But then the bark is what marks that moment in time, and then we approach, okay, and then your dog ultimately gets the payoff, which is closing the distance and getting to the dog or the person, right? But that starts to set a tone for, oh, okay, so when I want to go greet things, I just need to bark a whole bunch, and then we're going to go over there, all right? And again, right, it's just like when that doesn't work, they could become more firm, you know, and like we've heard it all, you know, dogs biting the leash, dragging owners over there, hunkering down and pulling even harder over there. You know, it's a real slippery slope, right? So you definitely want to be having him help ignore other dogs, okay? And, you know, no, even if they engage, I would say no. You know, it's like, hey, sorry, my dog isn't training. You know, save interactions for the things that you can control, right? So strangers, you really can't. I mean, yes, sometimes you can, but again, it's like if your dog is allowed to do this stuff in this context, it's going to be like, well, why can't I do this in this other context and stuff like that? So it's like generally like a rule is like when we're out, it's like I just need you to ignore these things. You know, you can hang out with the people that come to my house, you know, because it's like, oh, okay, in this context I can say hi to people and stuff. And it's like your dog doesn't need to say hi to 1,000 people to be friendly with people, you know. They just don't, okay? There's always like that limit where it's like, yes, you want to get them to meet people, but then it's like you want to also like shift that focus, okay? Because if you go too much on it, then you can just really start to create this dog who just like, they seek that out rather than engaging with me, okay? So it's like your first thing is always like re-engage your dog, you know? And so like, you know, if I was on the trail and I saw like, okay, we're walking, you know, you're at my side, you know, whatever, and then I see a person coming up, I might be like, you know, I don't know your dog's name here. We'll say Fido, for instance, okay? We'll be like, Fido, here? Yes. And I like grab some food, you know, but I've like practiced my recall. Here? Yes. Bring him some food, you know, sit? Yes. I just start engaging with them, you know, asking for some obedience commands, whatever. Cash, right? Cash here? Good boy. Give him some food, you know. If he doesn't want to take food, I might need to slow things down, you know, because then what that could be saying is that is too much. It's just too much for the dog, right? It's just too distracting for him, okay? If he is taking food, use that to your advantage. Yes, bring him in close to you. Sit, good, yes, you know, and like you're just engaging with your dog. You're like counter conditioning around these things, but then he's learning like, oh, hey, I don't need to worry about them. Yeah, I see them, cool, but I can do other things, and I want to engage the owner, okay? Because like, yeah, it's just that is what you want to do, okay? Because when your dog, again, it learns that, hey, I can engage with everything outside away from my owner. That's where the good stuff is. So they're going to be naturally gravitating towards it. But I want to teach my dog that all the good stuff comes here, okay? And this can also have its place too inside your home. You know, like when you have guests coming over, you can create the distinction between like, yeah, you know, sometimes you can say hi to them and sometimes you can't, you know, and I need you to be okay with both, all right? Because like everything starts in the home, you know. If your dog is like, you know, someone comes in and they are able to rush up to them and, you know, get all their wiggles out and stuff, like while it's not inherently bad, right, it's just they're learning things, you know, and it's impulsive, right? You know, if they're on their dog bed and someone comes in and they're like, yeah, and then they run over there, you know, that's naturally impulsive behavior. Your dog is practicing impulsive stuff, and so they're learning that this gets me the things that I want. So then when they see that stuff outside in the real world, you know, person, no impulse control, I want to go say hi to them, you know. And a lab, you know, they're just going to get pretty big, you know. I mean, like, they can get pretty big, you know. We had one in who was 100 pounds, you know, and he stood like 4 feet tall. He was a beast. And he was pulling their owners on, you know, sweet dog, loved people, loved dogs, but he, as a youngster, right, did a lot of the things that I was just mentioning now, and it was like they came back for training, you know, a couple years, you know, he like came in for training after a few years, you know, he was like 2 or something like that, and because they needed to remedy this. It was like, dude, you're too big. You literally knocked your owner over, pulling them towards somebody, okay? So it's like, you can just block that, you know, someone comes, hey, I love your dog, and be like, put your leg up, you know, just block them. Hey, nope, sorry, he's in training. You know, most of the time people can be pretty, what's the word I'm looking for that? Accommodating to those kinds of things, you know, nope, sorry, he's in training. Sometimes people can maybe give you, you know, the side eye or whatever, but, you know, it's like, you don't live with my dog, you know, I got to live with them, and I have certain things that I want them to be able to do when I'm out with them, you know, because like this is how dogs turn into backyard dogs, you know. One time you take them out to the trail and it's just terrible, you know, pulled you over, you got all muddy, you know, whatever. It's like that's the process that starts to like, oh, I don't want to take you anywhere, you know, because the last time it sucked, you know. And so yeah, slow it down, teach him how to ignore people by just like going around people and engaging with him, and then he's like, oh, okay, this is cool. I can engage with mom and I don't have to worry about these other things. And, inside the house, teaching him how to relax, chill out. Place command. We have a YouTube page, has a video on how to teach place command. It's like a 15-minute video, but that can be the starting of it, But then it's also like, it doesn't have to be your friends. It can be with you and the kids, Oh, I'm going to put cash on place when the kids are coming home from school. Can he hold his place when the kids come in the door? Those are all things that are going to help set you up for those harder moments, right? Because everything starts inside the house, okay? And if our dog has a hard time holding himself back in that moment, we're just going to have an extra hard time trying to hold him back, or having himself hold himself back, right? Practicing impulse control in the face of these like bigger distractions, okay? Because it's going to be those outside ones that are going to be like really hard for him. So again, these are just things that we talk about often. Everything starts inside the home. If we can't have our dog hold a place when I leave the room, how can I expect them not to get grumpy on that dog that's outside? It's like it's all rooted in impulse control in some way. So thanks for the question. Hope that helps. Okay, but yeah, we've got a place command video on our YouTube page. We've also got like a leash pressure video that can fold into like a here command. The leash pressure side of things is basically a nonverbal here. And then you just add the here in addition to that leash pressure work. But those would be two things that I would start for sure. And utilize your dog's daily meals too. I think that's a really big concept right there as well, because dogs can say no to dessert, aka other treats, if they've already had breakfast or something like that. Okay. Hey there, Francis. Hope everything is good with you. So after dog on place and someone comes in, any thoughts on creating calm greeting with that person? So this is a great question, Ribchin. So we've got this whole protocol on guests. Okay, so let's say this is all right, so we've got a dog, we practice in place, okay? And so I guess context matters, who's coming in the door. Is it someone that the dog has seen a bunch of times? Is it someone brand new? Let's say that it's someone, we'll just say for the sake of this, it's like we're going to say someone brand new, okay? So, and you can do this with anyone that the dog has seen before as well, okay? Because they could be their best friend. So, your dog, you're sitting in your living room, your dog is on place, they're just like chilling out. Depending on how good it is, you could always test it out. Something that we would do is like a back tie. Okay, so I'd have like a second leash on my dog to keep them from closing the distance. Okay, because like even if your dog is on place and someone knocks at the door and they come in and your dog rushes over to them and they close the distance, they have self-rewarded in that regard. Even if you say nope and send them back and do that whole process, your dog has still self-rewarded. All right, so we want to block that self-rewarding. So a back tie would be one of the first things when they're out there in that moment. Okay, because then if they break off, I can be like, hey, nope, send them back, good, give them some food, stuff like that. Okay. But I'm always a big fan of slowing things down and putting myself in a position where I can teach, okay? So, if I'm sitting in my living room and I'm with my dog and I would have my friend text me, hey, I'm coming up, okay? Or I just pulled up. Oh, okay, let me put the dog away. So, I'm gonna go put my dog away. I'm gonna go put them in the crate, okay? My guest is going to come in. My dog is going to know that someone is now in the house, all right? But I want them to relax in there first, okay? And that's just going to make things easier for you because now it's like you can handle the door. You don't have to really wait a whole bunch of time, right? It's just like, oh, I'm just going to let you in, okay? Now, your friend comes in, hey, have a seat. They have a seat on the couch. Let me get you some water, whatever, here's a beer. And now we're just, we're sitting, chilling out, relaxing, okay? Watching some football or something, okay? After 20 minutes, you can kind of like decide however long that is, but I'm waiting for my dog to settle, okay? So if I can hear them and I hear them whining, whatever, like they're just gonna settle first, okay? And then I'm gonna tell my friend, hey, I'm gonna go grab my dog. I need you to do a couple things for me, okay? I need you to practice no touch, no talk, no eye contact, right? Because like if they do any of those things, they can act as invitations to the dog, and it's just gonna make it harder on the dog, okay? In these moments, we need to consider the dog, okay? So like if I want them to practice their best stuff, I also need my humans to be giving them good stuff as well, okay? And not adding to the environment, all right? But it's not just bringing your dog out of the crate and into the living room as fast as possible. It's like, all right, I'm gonna be looking at all of these little small moments. So when I go into the bedroom to let them out of their crate, I still want polite stuff at the crate door, right? So just because someone's in the living room, if they try to rush out, hey, no, none of that, okay? I want that little moment of eye contact, okay? I'm gonna leash you up, all right? And then I'm gonna invite you out. Okay, great. And now, you come out of the crate, close the door, and now we're gonna exit the crate room, wherever the crate is at, right? And then we're gonna go out there. And then what happens? This is where I wanna be seeing, like, where does my dog's state of mind feel like? Okay, if it's nice and relaxed, we're gonna head out into the living room, right? If it feels elevated, right? If I start to head towards the living room and I'm, walking down the hall or whatnot, and they start like pulling on the leash to like get into the living room and be like, let's go, and I'm gonna turn them around. Yes, good boy, thanks for walking with me, all right? Because I want them to walk with me into the living room. So it's like, I might need to work with you prior to getting into that living room. Okay, and they might be like trying to smell, pull in there, let's go, or here's, what have you, because like they're working hard in this moment, right? They are working hard, and it might take 10 minutes, it might take 20 minutes, okay? But it doesn't matter how long it takes, because you got to watch your dog. If they're staying elevated, we need to just take as much time as we need to. When they relax, we can go a little bit closer in, but if they start to elevate again, then we're just repeating the process, okay? And then, right, so then if assuming like, oh, okay, you start to relax, you're walking with me into the living room, that's excellent, then I might start walking around the house with my guest in the living room, okay? Because it's gonna be hard for your dog to like walk past them and into the living room, because they might be like, hey, who's that? And you're like, let's go, just focus on me, okay? And every time they do, yes, because then they start to learn, oh, it benefits me to pay attention to you, okay? And hey there, Reed. So you might walk around. Again, your dog is just like, their energy is coming down, okay, because they're working so hard with this, right? This is mental work, okay? You could just be crawling through the house, walking with, not actually crawling, right? You're just walking at a snail's pace, but it's like, it's mentally challenging for your dog, okay? And then, again, as they start to relax, we can push the envelope a little bit more, Maybe then I have my guests like stand up, or they can stay sitting on the couch, and then with my dog giving such great respectful behavior, maybe I allow, hey, let's go up, go say hi, right? You could even mark that, go say hi. Your dog goes up, they start to like sniff, and then after like 1 second, I might be like, let's go, yes, good boy, right? And bring them off, okay? So then my dog starts to learn that like, when I sniff for 1,000, I turn around and I get some food, okay? So now this is how we can start teaching like a proper greeting, like, oh, hey, this is how I greet people. 4 legs, stay on the floor. I can sniff for just a little bit, and then I move on, all right? The lingering, and I don't know, maybe I touched on this on the last live, but like, the thing that gets dogs into trouble most of the time is lingering, okay? So if the dog isn't on a leash and they run over to the guest and they're like, yeah, I love you, you're the best. But after 2 seconds, now they're jumping up and stuff, because it's just like the excitement has taken over. So I wanna keep them on a leash. I can allow them to go and sniff, But 1,000, maybe 1,000. Let's go, yes. And then, maybe I do another little lap, okay? But like I said, this is just like draining your dog's energy. You've let them sniff a couple of times. They don't even need to get pet by the person, because that could even make them explode, right? And like lift off. So it's like, I might not even have any like physical interaction between the human and the dog, because the dog is already like super excited, and the addition of the petting could make them boil over, all right? Again, it's all like context, right? So if your dog is nice and relaxed, sure, get some pets. If they're like barely hanging on, they're not going to get any pets, okay? Because it's just going to like fuel the fire, okay? You pet what you get, or you get what you pet, right? You want overexcitement, pet that. You want calm, pet that, okay? And then, like I said, maybe this takes 10 minutes, maybe it takes 20 minutes, but then after that you can decide, oh, I'm going to go put you on place now, because now they've kind of got what they wanted, which was to go say hi to the human, but in a structured way. You did some physical, you did some mental work with them, so they're probably pretty tired, and now they're just in a much better position to be able to hold that place, okay? Again, though, keep in mind, like, this is a training session, so maybe you only have your dog out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you go put them away again, because eventually you got to leave the room, you're going to be doing things, or you're hanging out with your friend, and you might not be in a position to be able to reinforce the things that you want your dog to be doing, okay? So it's like you always want to be in a position to teach them. So it's like, prevent what you can't control, control what you can teach, okay? But that's like our guest greeting, and it's just a rinse and repeat kind of a thing. And it's like every new person, it's a good idea to consider that, like, every new person is going to give your dog what I call like a novel response, right? What that means is, like, every new person can make them overly excited until it doesn't, okay? So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It's a process to teach these things, and bringing the energy down is the first step. Just bring that energy down. Like I said, it could take 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? But each time you do it, it's just going to get faster and faster and faster, okay? Francis, it's going well over here, just getting ready to hopefully get in, well, it's January, still in winter time here. So yeah, how's it going in Oklahoma? Hey, Ribbon 16. All right, everyone. So do we have any more questions? It's reaching that 1 hour mark. Probably going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. But if I got time for... All right, got a guess now. Going to give it a rip. Well, let me know how it goes. But yeah, bring your food out, all of that stuff. It's like, it's a training session, right? I mean, that's what it is. Every time your dog is out of the crate, it's a training session, and you're just working your dog, right? And like, this kind of fits into that other question, about saying hi to people on the trails, right? It's like, get your dog to engage with you in the home, with your friend. I mean, that's where it's easy, right? Because you can tell your friend, like, hey, just sit down, watch some TV. I'm going to be doing my thing with my dog. But you're teaching your dog in that moment, you're teaching your dog how to prioritize you over everything else that's going on in the world. When you can do that, like, your dog is going to be socialized. Okay? And then the meeting, the people, is just the icing on the cake, okay? All right. When it hits 2:01, we're going to call it for today. All right, it's 2:01. So thanks everyone for coming in today. I thought this was a good one. So like I said, we'll save it. It'll be up on the page so you can refer back to it. And yeah, hope you all have a great rest of the Sunday, and we'll see you next week for the live on Sunday. All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.